All right, we are ready for the Honda Challenge 1 and 2. Ken Stout and Clark Cameron ready to call all the action for you. You can see the pace car out there. We're in Tooele, Utah at the NASA National Championships. This should be a great battle here. By the way, one of the few classes that goes from a standing start, so we'll get them all lined up. In the meantime, let's get the grid started.
So Graham Downey's going to start on the pole on Honda Challenge 1. Jonathan Maris will start second. Randy Gibb third. Chris McCoy fourth. Manny Coates is going to start fifth in that class.
Renan Baer will be on the pole for Honda Challenge 2. Benoit Pecure in second place. John Reamer in third place. John Alamazan will start off in fourth, and Gregory Newirth in fifth.
And as Ken said, this will be a standing start, so these cars take a warm-up lap. They'll roll around onto the front straightaway, stop in their marks, and just like Formula One, they wind them up. There's a series of green lights, and when we go green, they take off, and we're running.
Looks like we got a great race going on with a pace car right there.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a track safety vehicle and then a pace car as well, so I don't know quite what they're doing, but just getting ready to go here. So all these cars will line up, and then there's also on the track, there's also NASA's United States Touring Car Championship cars. They're at the NASA Championships for the first time, so we'll actually jump back and just grab their start and a few highlights from them as well. And they'll actually start with a separate pack. So the Honda Challenge 1 cars and Honda Challenge 2 cars will all line up together. They'll get the green, and then about 30 seconds back, the USTCC cars will stop and do their standing start as well. So pretty exciting stuff. I always love watching the standing starts. Some really hot Hondas and Acuras, a bunch of Integras, Civics, things like that. There's an S2000 out here as well, a bunch of CRXs. All really neat cars, make a bunch of horsepower, sound really cool, and a lot of fun to watch. So should be good racing. Graham Downey actually won the championship last year, so he's going to try and repeat. That car starting second. Jonathan Maris also always a threat. So Maris is going to be hungry for the win. Should be a good race between those two.
And, of course, these standing starts are critical here. You really need to try and drive the car out. It's very hard on the clutch when you do that, but you don't want to spin the tire too hard. You don't want to slip the clutch too much. It is a fine line. If you can get a good start, though, you can carry some nice speed into turn number 1 and pick up a couple of spots.
And you can see these guys kind of stop and then smoke the tires a little bit, try and get a little bit of heat into the tires before the actual green comes out, so they all line up. Engines start to wind up, and we'll wait for the green here. And turn up the volume, folks. Here it comes. Engines winding up, getting ready.
Anticipation here for all the drivers, just waiting.
And there it is. Green is out. Green on board with Graham Downey as he starts from pole. We can see him knocking through the gears, trying to get the lead. Maris got a very good jump. Maris is going to tuck into the lead down this long straightaway.
That's exactly what we were talking about. Just managed to carry a little more speed, drove it out a little bit harder.
So we'll see all these Honda Challenge 1 cars and Honda Challenge 2 cars stream down into turn 1.
You can see that car really nose down. I mean, some good ground effects, a lot of front-end weight there, so some good grip early on in this race to get him through those first 2 high-speed turns.
And Downey's on the wheel, man. He does not want to give up that lead for long. These guys, have a lot of great racing between them. Maris always a threat when we come to these NASA championships. Maris from California, Downey from California as well, so good field of Honda Challenge competitors from the West Coast, and these two often go at it. So, sure,
Maris a really smart line. He protected low on the entry and then let it immediately wash out wide because he knew that Downey was going to be pressing. And look at these guys all the way to the bottom of the racetrack, off in the dirt.
Yeah, that's our USTCC cars, our Touring Car Championship cars. They're getting their start. So they'll work their way through turn 1. I'm sure we'll tuck back with the Honda Challenge cars in just a minute here.
Yeah, there's some not nice things being said over the radio right now.
That's right. Yeah, everything goes on the first and last lap sometimes. You can get away with a little bit more, and sometimes it doesn't make everybody happy. So Graham Downey again trying to work his way around Maris, but Maris is one of those guys always drives 100%, and Jonathan is not going to give this up easily as they work their way down in the clubhouse corner for the first time.
Yeah, it looks like some good horsepower there, and you can watch that second place car, that white car. Man, he just really closes the gap up, but right now the handling to our leader.
Yeah, Downey, that car actually, I believe, won the Honda Challenge Championship with a different driver several years ago. Downey bought the car, ran it last year, brought it out for the first time at Mid-Ohio last year, and just dominated the race, led the whole thing. So, now Downey's slowing a little bit. We got a full course caution out, all the cars stacking up.
Almost a wreck because of that. And again, that's where you hope the spotters come into play and are able to tell a few people if in fact that is the case. And now a little bit of smoke, a little moisture, it looks like possibly steam or maybe tire smoke, so maybe there was some contact.
Yeah, I think that was Joe Sim. That's a Civic Si, blue Civic Si. Yet Joe was running back in like 5th or 6th, did not see the caution, I think, and kind of tucked up through the car. It's kind of a weird situation, but Joe getting a little bit of front end damage on that car, and now we're seeing some tire smoke out of it. So I'm sure the NASA officials will have to take some time here and sort of figure out who's what and what's where so that we can get these cars lined up correctly again. And also, Joe may need to come in and get a fender pulled away because obviously that tire's getting quite a bit of rub on it right now.
Yeah, and a long ways to go. I mean, it happened right there at start-finish, so he has to travel 3 miles to get back to pit road. And yeah, that right rear definitely taking a beating right now. In fact, it might be down.
Yeah, maybe. And, the other thing is I hope that no one else is damaged, but that's kind of the thing when you're racing. You gotta, you can be so focused on the cars ahead of you. Sometimes it's easy to lose track of the flagman. And there's a situation there where, some of the cars saw the caution, some didn't, and everybody kind of stacked up and created some problems. So the other thing is getting the field reset. I'm sure Downey's sort of worried that he's not going to get the opportunity to get back up into second where he was before the caution came out. So now on board with Renan Bear. He's the Honda Challenge 2 leader as we circulate.
Yeah, and I did mention that, there are some spotters up there. Everybody doesn't have a spotter, so
that's right.
A lot of times it is just the driver kind of relying on his own. You hope that he sees the yellow flag, and, as you mentioned, you can get so involved. If you're nose to tail with somebody like some of those guys were just there, you're just deadly focused on that guy in front of you.
Sure, yeah, you get a little bit of tunnel vision, so to speak, and it can be a challenge to figure out where everything is and what's going on. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, hopefully we'll be ready to do a restart with Honda Challenge 1 and 2. The National Autosport Association Honda Challenge National Championship is brought to you by AEM Electronics, Frogger TV, Toyo Tires, driven to perform, and Special Projects Motorsports.
Welcome back to Miller Motorsports Park for the NASA National Championships, Honda Challenge 1 and 2, along with the USTCC category as well. So we just are coming back on a restart here after a caution flag. Actually, a little bit of damage as well for some of those cars. You watch them with the accordion effect still as they get started.
Yeah, this is kind of weird. I thought they would reset the field after that caution because of everything that happened. They chose not to. And so it was Turbo Joe with that damage we talked about earlier out front, but he quickly backed up. Now Maris is back in the lead, and that's going to be Jeff Owen in second, the 5 Integra. So, and Graham Downey, last year's champion, he's going to be back in third. So Downey anxious to get back up front, at least get back to his second position where he was before the caution.
Great battle once again, nose and tail, exactly what we expected in this class. These guys race really hard.
And Downey makes that move right away, not wasting any time, tucks inside going through screen, and he will suck back up on Maris right away. Downey is very, very strong here. Yeah,
and Owen really giving him plenty of room there to make that pass. I was surprised he went as wide as he did.
Downey's been so fast all weekend, Owen may just realize that, any kind of a block would be an exercise in futility. As you can see, Downey's already pulled out a bunch of time on those cars.
Downey really leaning on him right now, man. This is a great battle between these two guys.
Yeah, Downey trying to get a nose inside already. I mean, this guy, he doesn't wait, does he? So Downey trying to tuck inside of Maris as they go through Witchcraft. We'll see if he can get it done as they head into the Attitudes.
Maris way wide there, so Downey with an opportunity, and Maris hangs on to the spot, though.
Yeah, I thought Downey might have had it, but Downey had to tuck back in, so Maris will continue to lead, but Downey is right there putting the pressure on.
And a smart move for Downey, because now he can come back and attack again. If he tries to fight for the position through the Attitudes, it could cost him the entire race. He has plenty of time left.
So Downey still behind as they head into Clubhouse. They'll work their way through this, fairly fast left, and then stand on the brakes heading into wind-up, slow down, and then set up for release. You kind of give up some time on wind-up. You see Downey trying to tuck the nose in so he gets a nice wide entry going into release. Try and kind of cut the corner and make a run on Maris, and they're going to be side by side as they come on the straightaway.
Yeah, to me, that is the preferred line that Downey did right there. Downey gave up the right-hander to set himself up for the left-hander, which is a turn that you need to carry more speed on to go down this long straightaway, and this is where it's going to pay off. He's going to have a couple more mile per hour at the very end.
And you can see Maris actually like reached through the window, and I think he waved Downey by. I think he doesn't want to fight too hard this early. Wants to tuck in and sort of draft Downey for a while and see what's. Oh, Maris has got some problems there, it looks like.
And Downey's car really rolling over hard on that left front, on that left side. I'm surprised to see so much body roll in that car. And maybe Maris's car is doing the same thing. Maybe just because of the colors, it doesn't show quite as much. But boy, you could really see it with the white and green car.
Yeah, for a minute there, I thought Maris's left front was going down, but seems to be still at speed. So maybe he's okay. See a little bit of a brake lock up there, but Maris still at speed. Meanwhile, I have a good race for third place. Again, Jeff Owen, and then that kind of unusual snow camo car of Chris McCoy. That's, again, an Acura RSX 2005.
And these cars are so good. Keep in mind, these guys race all year long in pretty much all forms of weather, and these Acuras, these Hondas are just brutally fast in the rain.
They truly are. Randy Gibb just behind them in that black RSX. So good racing going on there again for Honda Challenge 1. Sure, we'll tuck back at some point and check out the HC2 competitors as well. But so much good racing in Honda Challenge 1, you don't want to leave this stuff.
Of course, we talk about rain. It's everybody out here is very, very happy with this weather. Even though it's been extremely hot all week long, they are very happy in comparison to what the weather was like 1 year ago at Mid-Ohio when it was just like tornado zone. We've got one way off the track there kicking up some dirt, but it was brutal weather a year ago.
Oh, I know, man. This is a lot better. That was actually Jeremy Croisset, who's NASA's sponsorship coordinator. Jeremy and I deal with each other quite a bit, and Jeremy, he's one of those guys. He doesn't really have a position two. It's pretty much 100% all the time. So Jeremy sliding real wide there, but didn't hurt him too much. He's still in the hunt, and it looks like he's going to try and make an attempt for fourth place. Both him and Chris McCoy tucking out, trying to get around Jeff Owen as they come down the straightaway.
Yeah, Jeremy was talking about running a couple different classes here this weekend as well. On top of his job duties that keep him very busy, he was tinkering around with PTA, and I said, come on, baby, the more the merrier. The water is warm, but
that's right.
He's going after Honda Challenge, which is really his best shot.
Yeah, Jeremy actually was Honda Challenge 4 champion, I think, in 2006. He's also won the first season of Setup, which is on a TV network, which we're not going to talk about right now.
Oh, man. So one down in low, another one up high, almost off the track, maybe off the track.
Yeah, I don't know where Jeremy. Now he's still running, man. He got it loose, but hung on, so lost a bit of time there. That back end of that car is very, very loose, but Jeremy doesn't mind. He's hanging on.
Patience, young Jedi.
And it looks like I think Jeremy may have a tire going down. We saw him go off again going into Black Rock hairpin, so maybe something mechanical going on with a car, or maybe just sort of some pickup and some things on the tires from going wide in a couple corners. As you can see, he's still sliding around back there.
So again, the Honda Challenge 1 and Honda Challenge 2 out here going at it now. We go back up to the front, and we see now that Downey has taken over the position.
And Downey is starting to pull out a lead a little bit on Maris, but Maris is still hanging on. Maris is still fairly competitive. Meanwhile, we have a pretty good race between Chris McCoy and Jeff Owen. Both of these guys having a good show. McCoy's actually a local boy from Utah, Pleasant Grove, so hoping to bring home a podium for the local fans who are here at Miller Motorsports Park. Here we go, on board with Renan Bear, HC2 leader. He's got a CRX, which is sort of one of the, or I'm sorry, that's a Civic, just running behind the CRX. Bear doing a really good job. I believe that's the Honda Challenge 1 car of Ryan Flaherty, actually just ahead of him. So you can see how fast Bear really is. He's actually challenging for like 5th or 6th overall right now and just dominating the Honda Challenge 2 field. Just ahead of him, Ryan Flaherty, who's actually NASA chairman. We've talked about that before. All these NASA guys actually, the guys who run these events, organize them, run the organization, also race. So coming out here and having a good time. So Flaherty doing a good job today, running 5th or 6th, I think, right now overall.
And ran right up on the back bumper, actually checked up a little bit. And those guys in HC2 love to see an HC1 car in front of them and catching them. That's definitely a good feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can see, Downey's just starting to inch away from Maris. And Maris still locking up that left front as he enters Blackhawk. Gotta be a little bit careful there that you don't flat spot that tire. Every time you lock one up, you find that you get a little bit of a flat spot, and each time the tire starts to find that flat spot more and more, and eventually you can get a vibration in the tire, can actually affect the handling. So gotta be a little bit careful about that.
Yeah, and we're talking about a violent vibration if it gets too bad. It's so easy to do, especially with the speed you're carrying out here at this track.
Absolutely, and being a front-wheel drive car, as a lot of these cars are, almost every car in the field is, other than that S2000 that we mentioned earlier. You really have to take care of the front tires because those tires do all the work. You got to turn with them and you have to accelerate with them. They're doing double the work as opposed to a rear-wheel drive car. So, as you start to sort of cook those tires and wear them in, the car will pick up an corner exit understeer, which is where the driver turns, the car wants to go straight, and the more that car understeers, the slower it goes. So you really have to take care of those tires, and locking them up is certainly not the way to do that.
I'll tell you, after Downey has gotten out front here, of course, he missed a little bit on the start, maybe spun the tire a little bit, and kind of opened up the door there for Maris. But since he's gotten back around him, man, he has checked out lap times seconds quicker than other people in the field at this point, with the exception of Maris. Maris also right there with him in regards to lap times. And boy, those two guys definitely have something figured out over the rest of this field where they put seconds on everybody else. And to think that they both come out of the same region, that Northern California region, so they battle with each other all year long, come to the championships, battle with each other again. They're used to it, but boy, they've got the rest of the field here, and I guess you could actually say the rest of the country pretty much covered up.
Yeah, absolutely. And, a lot of times the focus in Honda Challenge tends to be, sort of engine stuff. And a lot of these guys spend a lot of time thinking about how to make more horsepower. But certainly it seemed to me that Maris and Downey were pretty equal on horsepower. Downey was able to get by Maris on the straightaway, but then Maris, broke away into the lead on the start. So certainly that isn't it. I think more than anything, maybe Downey has a little bit better handling right now in that Civic than Maris does. So, you can see in the corners, Downey just inches away every lap.
And such a different driving style. You mentioned the front-wheel drive cars. Such a different driving style over the rear-wheel drive cars. Of course, the front-wheel drive cars tend to have a push in them just by nature, but they also will pull themselves out of a turn so nicely. If you get in trouble, you pick up the throttle, and it just kind of tugs the car right out of trouble.
Yeah, it's sort of the opposite. When you run a rear-wheel drive car, which is more my experience, if you get the back end out, the tendency is to lift just a little bit because it's generally associated with wheel spin. With these cars, you actually put your foot into it, and the front end can kind of pull yourself out of a spin. But yeah, absolutely. The technique is very much you brake very hard all the way to the apex, sort of stand the car on its nose, try and get the back end to rotate around. And we can see this classic line that Downey runs, very wide on entry, and then a very, very late apex, which is he comes all the way down to the inside of the corner, right at the end of the corner, so as he accelerates out, there's less turning to do, and that allows him to get lots of straight line speed all the way down that 3,500-foot straightaway. And, Downey, if there's one spot that Downey looks really, really good and is doing a really good job, I agree with you, it's that last corner.
And it is showing now as he has stretched it out, and you can see that all these guys have a lot of breathing room right now. So whenever you get in a situation like this, it's all about focusing on your line, your entry points. You got to find out where you want to start turning in, your braking points, and try to become deadly consistent. If somebody passes you, try to figure out what they're doing a little bit better than you are and start to copy that to see if you can get a little bit better in that section of the track.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, this is one of those times where, Maris can sort of study Downey, see where Downey, I don't think it's so much driving, but see where Downey's car may be a little bit better and, really get the feel for what can I do next year to maybe be a little bit more competitive with Graham when we come back here for one more year.
So another look there. I thought I saw just a little tail of smoke out of the left rear.
Yeah, I agree. Something doesn't seem quite right with that vehicle, and I'm not sure. It just seems a little bit off song, and I'm not sure, quite what's going on with it. But we'll have to keep a track on that because certainly Maris has been relatively quick and really the only challenger for Downey, and we'd hate to see him sort of drop out at this point.
Maris with, as we indicated, some good lap times before, but anybody, as they say, can rip off one good one. It's all about total time at the end of the event, and the guy with the least amount of total time is your winner. So again, it will come back to that consistency. So a guy that has a car that's really quick, maybe he can rip off a low 211, might not be the guy that can rip off 20 212. So
that's right.
It's about consistency.
Yeah, absolutely. And Maris is a fast guy. He's always up front of the championship. So we'll see. We'll see how it works out. Right now we're keying on, I think that's Benny Pecure. I'm sorry, it's Manny Coates. Manny Coates in the 72. Manny running 6th or 7th right now in Honda Challenge 1. Manny's a former Honda Challenge 4 competitor and very excellent driver in Honda Challenge 4. He's decided to move up into 1. Once again, back on board with Renan Baer, and I believe just in front of Renan is one of the U.S. Touring Car Championship cars, as they're sort of starting to work their way through the Honda Challenge field, so that may come into play as well.
Yeah, and they're a bit quicker than the Honda Challenge 2 vehicles, so we expect them to get up in there. Renan Baer, by the way, out of Simi Valley, California, runs in the southern region, 1995 Honda Civic.
There's a 28 again of Ryan Flaherty. Again, 6th place in Honda Challenge 1, and that's, let's see.
We saw Ryan Flaherty there a moment ago out of Corona, California. There in the valley, a red CRX, also running in the Southern California region.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I paused for a second there. That was Renan Baer that's just behind Ryan still, so Renan again is maybe 6th or 7th overall, still doing very well. That's that kind of yellow and white Honda Civic hatchback that Renan's driving.
And you mentioned Ryan being out here and a lot of the representatives of the NASA sanctioning body, and it's cool because a lot of times the governing officials don't understand the racer's point of view, but as all these guys are out here, at least a big handful of these guys are out here racing, they get it. They understand both sides of the story.
Sure thing. We see these U.S. Touring Car cars working their way through this Honda Challenge field. Andre Hartanto, the leader in that. Andre is actually a big Honda Challenge guy for a long time, was real competitive in Honda Challenge for quite a few years. So Andre choosing to move into the U.S. Touring Car Series, which is a very cool series for a lot of these guys, runs primarily on the West Coast. And, doing a real good job here today, leading this U.S. Touring Car Championship field of about 10 cars. So good solid field for them.
Everybody coming down through the attitudes and the left-hander Tooele turn, and there's a kink in there, and then it's called Clubhouse Corner. Here they enter wind-up, the right-hander, and this is one we talked about. You might want to give this one up to stay towards the outside of the track so you don't have to do a lot of zigzagging, and then set up for release and down the long straightaway.
And once again on board or watching Renan Bear as he makes his way onto the front straightaway. Renan's about 2 seconds faster than the next quickest car. Eric Olsen, I believe, is running in second right now in that class. So Renan is just dominant at this point. He's doing a great job in Honda Challenge 2. After
hours performance, an M Factory helping Renan out with that car, and the combination working perfectly. Great looking ride.
Yeah, absolutely. My first car out of high school was a Honda Civic. It was actually a sedan. It wasn't one of the hatchbacks, but I always kind of liked those older hatchbacks. I thought they were kind of neat. I always really liked the CRXs as well. You see a few of those out here. Neat cars to see still out on the track. And Honda's made so many iterations of that same inline four-cylinder. It's just a fantastic engine. A good friend of mine builds a bunch of import drag engines and does some Honda stuff, and he said, we'll build these engines that make 500-600 horsepower. And I said, well, what do you do to the bottom end? He said, well, we don't do anything to the bottom end. We just we just bolt the turbo on and do head work. So it's amazing how strong these engines are that they can make that kind of horsepower. He said we run them all season long and don't really worry about them. So pretty neat little power units, and really just the same motor with a little bit different variations here and there as far as displacement and variable valve timing in some of the newer engines. And these guys are able to bolt in different kinds of engines to these different Honda chassis and really make a lot of horsepower and do a really good job with them.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, a lot of engine swaps going on. You want to move up a class, you want a little more power in it, and it's easy as that. If you have a good handling car, you want to step up a class, just make an engine swap, and away you go.
That's right. In fact, we were talking about Jeremy. Last year, Jeremy brought his Honda Challenge 4 CRX and put a big old 2-liter in it and brought it out and ran it in Honda Challenge 1. It was actually on pole last year. Unfortunately, he had a few problems during the race with his brakes, but was very, very quick, and that was really the first time anybody had done that. Took a big engine like that and plunked it in a CRX, and it was actually a very successful package. So, taking a look back up front, I believe. Oh, these are a few more of the Honda Challenge competitors, and that's actually a spec E30 car. E30 BMW class is also out here. Haven't talked too much about them, but they're out running on the track as well.
Yeah, another really cool class, and inexpensive. If you like BMWs, want to go racing a BMW, it's a great entry-level class to get into, and very solid car. It's not going to break the bank. They're very consistent, so not real heavy on the maintenance end of it. You can go out and have a lot of fun. That's what's so cool about NASA in general. There is pretty much a class here for everybody. If you don't have a big budget but you want to get into racing, it's a great place to do it. You can really bring your street car out. I mean, whatever car you're driving right now, if you come to a regional event, they will have a place for you either in time trials or what they call HPDE, which stands for High Performance Driving Enthusiast. And they start off with HPDE 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you start off at the beginner level. You learn the flags, you learn the rules to racing and track rules, and you progress up to HPDE 4, and then you can get a competition license and go racing with these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. The line that Dave Royce, who's one of the regional directors near us, in the Midwest region, is he always says if it's got wheels on it, you can come out and race it. So just about anybody, if you have just about anything at home, you got a little Rabbit, or maybe you've got a Honda car sitting at home that you just drive around in the street. You bring a helmet, you go to a NASA event, and you can do an HPDE event with it, and they give you instruction and a bunch of track time. It's actually a really cool deal. So certainly a good option for a lot of people to get involved in the sport, and a lot of the guys you see out here today are competitors that started doing just HPDE events and sort of moved up to time trials, which is one step up from that, and then eventually got into competition racing, and here they are today having a great time racing at the NASA Championships, racing for a national championship.
Graham Downey out front of Honda Challenge number 1 out of Morgan Hill, California. Cool looking white Honda Civic there, of course, with the green accents as well. Doing a great job out of the Northern California region, 1999 model Civic. Redstone Motors helping him out there, and boy, he has been on the wheel today.
And Graham doing a great job in that Redstone Motors Honda Civic 99. Once again, last year's national champion, so defending national champion. Again, showing us why he is the national champion, and really showing everybody how it's done here today as the laps wind down. 3 or 4 laps to go, so Graham with a good lead in hand, and this is sort of the time when you maybe back off a little bit, you don't take too many risks in traffic, and you really try and make sure that car is fully together and everything's okay. You start kind of listening to it for squeaks and rattles and watching the gauges and just trying to stay in a rhythm to make it to the end.
Yeah, and you say back off a little, and for the folks that haven't had the awesome opportunity to get inside of a race car, you say to yourself, okay, so how do you do that and remain consistent? Well, what you do is maybe a short shift by 500 RPM or 700 RPM. You don't want to get too far out of the power band, obviously, but you can short shift the car a little bit. It'll save you. You don't have to wring that motor's neck. Or maybe you start braking one marker earlier and just take it a little bit easier on the car, but you want to still stay very, very consistent. And that's what the professionals will do. They'll find their marks, they'll back off, they'll short shift the car, and you'll see their lap times fall back maybe a half a second, 3/4 of a second, but they'll stay right in that range every lap.
That's right. A good driver can, a really good driver should be able to get out of the car without ever having to look at a lap time, be able to tell you exactly what he's running. And that's these guys that are at this national championship level, they can sort of decide, I'm going to back it up a second a lap. They know what that feels like, and they're able to do it effectively every lap. And one of the things we haven't talked about is most of these cars now have some sort of an onboard data system where they're actually getting their lap times in the car on a display on the dash. So Graham should be able to watch that data system and know, okay, I just ran a 2:11 is my best lap. I'm going to back this off a little bit. Maybe I'm going to run a 2:12, 2:12.5, whatever. And he can sort of confirm that he's doing that on his dash and meet that target every lap to make sure that he's, sort of meeting the target that in a lot of cases it's him and his crew will have sat down ahead of time and said, okay, we're going to try and run this lap time consistently.
And if he does have the luxury of a spotter, I know in our particular case, we will call the lap times out to the driver. More importantly, we'll call the split times out between he and the competitor behind him. And if he's making ground on that competitor significantly, then we could say, okay, stick with it for a little while. If you get an 8-second lead, 10-second lead somewhere in that area, okay, we're safe right here, bro. Let's back it off a little bit, and you start saving the car. And you start saving it as early as possible. A lot of people think you go out, man, and you just push to the very end. But the second you get an opportunity to save that car, that's exactly what you have to do.
Sure, and one of the things that sometimes people don't realize is that racing is expensive. And, even at this level, you're racing for a national championship, but you also got to remember, I want to race this car again. So, sometimes you don't want to abuse it too hard, because certainly you don't want to finish the race with an engine that's been, redlined a bunch of times and maybe needs to be rebuilt right away or whatever. A lot of cases these guys will rebuild the car, rebuild the engine for this event, and then the whole year following. So for Graham, that's going to be all of 2010. He may run on the car as it left the track at the championships. So, to a certain extent, you got to think about the future and make sure that, if you don't need to use it up, it's just like burning $100 bills every lap you take that's at, 10/10.
So again, Downey just showing everybody the way around here, having an awesome day in HC1. Brennan Baer doing a great job in HC2 as he has had a dominant car here, has been right behind the HC1 guys.
Yeah, just ahead of Downey is actually the Spec E30 leader, I believe. That's Chris Cabetto. Chris is a multi-time Spec E30 champion. He's also one of the NASA officials this weekend. So Chris having a really good run as Graham starts to close in on him. And it looks like Chris has a good battle going on for the lead in his class. So hopefully Graham will be able to work his way around those two cars and not sort of get in the way too much. They'll be looking in their mirrors. They will be receiving a passing flag, which is a blue flag with a yellow stripe on it, to let them know a faster car is coming. He's going to want to work his way by, and while these guys are continuing to race, they're going to want to figure out a way to let him by without sort of messing up his race as well.
Yeah, and I will tell you, their mindset will be he has to be smart, meaning Downey. Downey's going to have to be smart where he wants to make his pass, because if he tries to do it in an area that's going to ruin their opportunity for a win, they will care less about Downey.
That's right.
And they're going to basically say, man, you're on your own. We're fighting for a win here just like you are. You have plenty of room. You have plenty of time. Be patient. We know you're faster. Pick us off, win in where you can without disturbing us. And that's kind of the rules of the road, if you will.
That's right, yeah. It's the overtaking driver's responsibility to figure out where to pass safely. So Downey's challenge at this point is to, and he doesn't need to make anything happen. He doesn't need to force this. He has a huge lead, but he certainly doesn't want to get in an accident here. So he's going to want to sit back a little bit in case one of these guys spins in front of him. He wants enough room to avoid them. But then when they get to the front straightaway, I would think that Graham's going to try and be close enough that he can tuck out, get by him, and get on with his race without messing up theirs.
Yeah, exactly. He wants to start closing up on him right here if he does have that opportunity, and it looks like that's what he's going to do. Run his ton. Look at that line. See that line, man? It's so much better line for Downey, and it's going to set himself up perfectly here to drive both of them right down the straightaway, pass them both, and won't interfere with that race at all. A real professional, excellent job. White flag flies. They have to survive one more lap. Great battle there in that E30 class.
Yeah, one more lap for Downey. Cabetto still in the lead in E30, so good race in there. And it looks like we may have lost Maris. I'm not seeing Maris back here. We'll sort of wait on this shot for a little while, and hopefully Jonathan's still on the track. But we had mentioned earlier we thought he might be having trouble, and we're not seeing him now. So second may end up going to that third-place car.
You know, we're actually hearing on the radio now that the Maris did pull off on lap 14 as they enter lap 17, the final lap of the event.
Yeah, so Maris, we've lost Maris. Unfortunately for him, whatever was going wrong with that car apparently went wrong in a bigger way, and so Jonathan will have pulled off. And so Chris McCoy.
Look at the pass here, trying to set him up here in that E30 class, right behind Downey there.
Yeah, we're supposed to be focusing on Honda Challenge, but it's hard to resist watching that good race just behind him.
That's what we do, right?
Yeah, that's
we
right.
watch racing.
Yeah, look for the good racing wherever it is. So Graham Downey, just a few more corners to go. Great race for him. And, you know, we were talking about him coming out of release. Again, that really is the key for this car and how good it is. You can see even at the end of this race how well the nose tucks on the exit of that corner. And that to me is really showing the strength of this race car, is that even in a front-wheel drive car, even towards the end of the race when maybe the tires are getting a little worn out, he's still able to get the nose to tuck down and get a very, very good drive off of that corner without a bunch of understeer, without the front end sort of sliding out to the outside as he exits the corner.
The car looks great as he comes into the final three turns on the last lap. Was definitely challenged early on in this race by Jonathan Maris, who got off to a great start, but I'll tell you, after a handful of laps, he was able to get around Maris. Maris, as you mentioned before, had some troubles, and ever since then, Downey looks like he's in a drifting contest there. So take it easy, baby. Last thing you want to do is put it in the wall now. I mean,
that's right,
nobody
man.
even remotely close to him, but he's going to pick up the win here in Honda Challenge 1.
So great job with Graham Downey. Checkers will come out for him. Double checkered flags. Chris Cabetto is going to come home with the win in E30, so good job for him.
Oh, yeah.
Chris doing a little celebratory weave there. So fantastic race for Downey. And we'll see Chris McCoy come off in second place. So we'll just run down the order here real quick as the cars continue to cross the line. It's Graham Downey's going to take home the win. Chris McCoy crossing the line in second. Great battle here for third place overall in Honda Challenge 1. Tom Felt's going to take that home. Randy Gibb fourth. Jeff Owen fifth. Ryan Flaherty sixth. Manny Coates is going to come home seventh. Joe Sim eighth. Jonathan Maris ninth. And Jeremy Croisset is going to come home in 10th spot.
In Honda Challenge 2, congratulations to Renan Bear. Excellent job as he'll win. Eric Olson hangs on for second place, coming all the way from Allentown, Pennsylvania. Brian Hustine out of Irvine, California is in third place. Gregory Neuwirth out of Hawthorne, California in fourth, and James Rowan rounds out the top five in Honda Challenge 2.
The National Autosport Association Honda Challenge National Championship is brought to you by AEM Electronics, Frogger TV, Toyo Tires, driven to perform, and Special Projects Motorsports.